eventually people are going to listen to guys like me. They're going to say he's right. These guys are liars and cheaters and thieves, and worst of all, they're freaking murderers. This is biblical level evil that they're engaged in the halls of Congress and the Senate. Not every one of them, but the vast majority, enough to be that critical mass to legitimize what is totally illegitimate. With that bailout of '08, we should have had a market correction to beat the band. Do you understand? That's exactly what we needed. They'll scream, well, recession, Great Depression, all this BS, man. Okay, we the people need control over the issuance of currency. That's it. That's what JFK was doing. It had built-in checks and balances because it was tied to a finite substance, silver. Okay, and you just can't print it. You understand? So he knew what he was doing. So we didn't even need a lot of oversight and checks and balances other than what was intrinsically built into this currency. You see why they're opposed to that? Then they can't steal from you. But these people are totally evil. And they're going to meet their day of reckoning, but they don't care. I mean, that's it. They love their lives in this world more than they love God, more than they love humanity. They love money. And their values are warped and deranged and perverted. And they're gonna get what they have. You sow to the wind, you reap the whirlwind. I mean, God is pissed at the implications, the ramifications of this in our society, the social, political, and economic injustice that just keeps growing and expanding. I mean, the abortions that are induced because a woman feels like she can't afford it, and what kind of a world is she bringing it into? I mean, just the fact that we've got multi-billionaires even seeing the light and saying, what's a kinder, safer, gentler society worth? So yeah, a universal basic income, a UBI, an extension, just look at it like an extension of Social Security. If nobody has to ever be financially insecure or financially in fear, why would you do it? What kind of a freaking a-hole are you? So I say thwart the evildoers any means necessary. This is triage. This is saying, no more. We're parenting you. We're telling you who's boss. We the people are the boss. Get the hell out of Dodge. Trump, do something. Get a payoff figure. Talk to the people at the Treasury Department. See what you could do to come up with a competing currency. You say you're a capitalist, prove it. Okay, put your money where your mouth is. The proof's in the pudding, buddy. So if you want me to vote for you again, you better do something a hell of a lot more than what you've been nibbling at the edges, cursory kind of crap. It's no. Do something tangible, for God's sake. You know you're not stupid, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. How low affordable housing is an anathema to the vast majority of people are invested in housing, real estate. And that's a lot of Democrats and Republicans, and I know it. And stop playing stupid. It's a lot of conservatives and liberals. A lot of people that profess to be socialists and capitalists. They're all full of it. I know exactly what's going on. So we need a competing currency. In my estimation, this is the only way, at least to fight for it and get these people riled up and let them be like a bull in a china, do something stupid in a china closet, let them do something stupid, lose their cool, lose their way, and we start jailing these people. Try to pull an assassination, they get busted, and then we tie it all together. It is these money printers. And you want to know where the globalists are, the New World Order? Okay, you want to know where Satan's throne is? It's right there in the halls of Congress and Senate. And the Federal Reserve, the money issuance, the class. Okay, these are the people. These are the ones that rule, and it's a tiny minority. And the people, are remiss because we're not parenting them. And until we do, man, we're going to get more of this. We need to be empowered from above. God will give you the power. He gives me the power. I get it, man. As clear as the light of day. This thing is wrong. And everybody's got to do something. I'm utterly compelled. I must do something. I swear I'd go stark raving mad if I tried to just numb my feelings and senses and say, I'm just going to turn my back and divorce myself from my fellow human beings, my fellow Americans. I can't do it. I mean, the days are evil. They're dark. And I mean, the only hope is in God, that he's going to empower us to come together and say, stop, and parent these people and tell them who's the boss and tell them what's what. We've got to. We've got to stop being cowardly. Stand up to them. I mean, it might cost my life. It might cost your life, anybody else's life. So you want to go to the next realm being a coward or somebody that stood up for what's right? It was God's good and faithful servant and friend, and by extension, a friend to humanity. That's what I want to go down in history as, a friend to all humanity. I want to be everybody's friend. I want everybody to like me and love me. I want to be like God. I want to be free. I can learn from him. What's he like? I want to be forgiving. I want to be graceful. I want to be a nice guy. I want to love you. I want to give you your dignity and respect. I want to treat you like an equal. I want you to have all the same things I want for myself and my family. Freedom, prosperity, security, all what's logical and reasonable to assume of an all-loving God, and that's what we are to be. And be empowered with that and say, hey, you know what? There's no death. Jesus proved it repeatedly. We don't have to worry. We don't have to be cowards. So what? What's the worst? They kill me. They kill the body. They can't touch the soul. You get your soul. You've got something in the next place. You've got something to stand before God on and say, I tried. I really fought the good fight, God. I really believed the answer was to parent these people, just like Jesus did in the temple. He told them what's what. You're disgusting. You infuriate me. You piss me off. And that's it. I mean, you know how God's feeling. I mean, all the women getting abortions. What do you think God thinks about that because of this? Remember, as far as population goes, it's none of our business. Okay, this goes way beyond the realm of what humans are. We're doing what comes instinctively and what's written in Scripture to do. Go forth, be fruitful, and multiply. Populate the earth. So when the earth is populated to God's satisfaction, it's not hard for him to either make men impotent, okay, or to just take our fertility away. I don't know. But he's the potter. We're the potter. He can do whatever he wants. They created the universe and everything contained therein, and we're part of that. He owns us rightfully. Do we respect that? Do we understand that? Do we honor him? It's written that he's faithful and true to do all the things he promised to do. He's going to mete out justice on the earth, and those that hunger and thirst for righteousness will be filled. Okay, but will he find faith on the earth? Are we faithful? Okay, are we emulating him to the best of our ability, trying to reflect his character and nature and represent him properly, be a good ambassador of the divine Most High God? Are we logical? Are we reasonable? Are we intellectual? Are we willing to do the math when it comes down to it, the real nuts and bolts of the science of believing that there is accountability, there is a God, that we are owned, that this isn't all happenstance, just a fluke, just a weird thing, that nature created everything. It's the dumbest thing in the world on its face. I mean, that's my opinion. It's illogical. There's a God, there's a creator. So you got to ponder what the implications thereof are. We're going to be accountable. There will be a day of reckoning, a judgment day, a day to answer. Cough it up. What were your belief systems? Are they going to hold water or not? Where are you going to be found? Where are you going to be found worthy and deserving of going from here? Jesus talked about this in very clear terms. I mean, this is literally the separation of the wicked from the righteous. But the wicked aren't found deemed worthy to be around the righteous anymore. I mean, God has had his fill of watching the evildoers bully around the righteous. Those that just want to live in peace and harmony and safety and security and freedom and all the good things we all want. If we can have them, why not have them? We don't have to wreck up the earth. I'm a big believer in the environment and being environmentally prudent. But when we're talking about all this climate change, and we're not conflating that with all the suppressed clean technology out there that's termed disruptive technology, then I think there's something reeks in Denmark, right? This is not right. We've got to talk about that there are solutions to all of our problems if you just use your God-given imagination. But people jump on another bandwagon. There's one talking point, like they got a grand poobah that says something, and then everybody else just parrots it. I mean, like psycho hyenas or something that are just babbling, and it's just nonsense. But we've got to talk about suppressed clean technology. When do you hear the mainstream media talk about Stanley Meyer's water car that got 100 miles to a gallon of water? He figured out a way to create hydrogen from a bank of 12-volt batteries. He was able to crack the water molecule, turn it into hydrogen. So, what do you ever hear the mainstream media talking about that? He was assassinated, poisoned, and we don't hear anybody talking about that. So, you wonder why we're not talking about it, do you? I do. But I know they're evil. They're evil people that rule the world. And until the return of Christ, it's going to be the situation. And I've got to fight. And if it gets me a little upset, it gets other people upset. Hey, listen, we've all seen that bumper sticker. If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. Okay, well, I say if you're not outraged, you're complicit at this point. I mean, that's it. You've got to get mad. And we've got to unify, we the people, and just say, no, man, this how can you imagine? I mean, we're losing the majority of home ownership in America. Do you understand the implication? Where does this thing end? I mean, it's a trajectory that just is descending into hell, and we're so far down this demonic rabbit hole to hell. God only knows what it's going to take to stop it. Like I said, I mean, the return of Christ, do we need some worldwide celestial event that can't be ignored, can't be written off as just a bunch of Looney Tunes that are seeing flying saucers? What's it going to take? I wonder. And I just say, I cannot sit idly by and just tell people I think everything's just fine and dandy and don't worry and trust God and, just let go and just just be passive. Okay. Just don't say and don't speak up. It's somebody else's problem. If somebody's on minimum wage and they keep getting cheated and worse cheated, and then they get fingered, they get blamed, they get framed for cost of living inflation. Okay, and yeah, you could say I could get outraged about that. That is such brazen injustice, economic, social, political injustice in your face. I mean, remember, the Democrats aren't sticking up for them. They might say they are, but Bernie Sanders was $15 an hour, doing nothing to educate you on the reality. Let's go back to when minimum wage was approximately $1 an hour. Let's look at the buying power in the early 60s, let's say, of that $1 an hour. It's all math to bring it up to what it needs to be to have the equivalent, the commensurate, the proportional buying power that it had, right? We would all agree, yeah, it's reasonable. Well, if Bernie Sanders was really trying to educate the people, the first thing he'd say is, do you have any idea what it would be now? He would have done the math. He would have had somebody that worked for him do the math. At least ballpark it, in all honesty, and say, well, come on, dispute my figures. You do your own research, show it side by side. And I'll show you where you're wrong or you're lying or not, and vice versa. But let's hash this out. So that's educating the public as to what's going on. So what would minimum wage be if it kept up with the cost of living? Well, on average across the country, depending on your community, if it's San Francisco, it would have to be well over $80 an hour, because back then that $1 an hour would afford you to be a homeowner. That minimum wage job would afford you to be a homeowner in San Francisco. So you need to afford to be a homeowner in San Francisco. So minimum wage would need to be set in each community. But if you were going to do it nationwide, which would have kept things much more cohesive and much less fractured, okay, socially, politically, and economically speaking, we should have kept a minimum wage, a federal minimum wage. That would have kept America unified. So no matter where you wanted to live, okay, you would still get a fair shake. You could live a middle-class American lifestyle, realize the American dream of home ownership. So when you do the math in your community, remember, you need to pay these bills comfortably. All the bills we all have to pay: energy costs, auto repair, auto insurance, auto registration, hygiene, toiletries. We all need this stuff: telephone, utilities, right? Water. You got to add all this stuff in, right? To all the expenses that we have, that we all have. You need to include them. Food, your food costs, potable water. You'd add it up, okay? You see, there's a lot of stuff that we typically all want and need, okay? So do the math in your community and you come up with a figure. Okay, but all I'm saying is if we had kept the federal minimum wage, I mean, why come up with a federal minimum wage unless you're going to stick to it, right? You understand? Unless there's some accountability, some oversight, some checks and balances. Do you understand? I mean, it's like going back in time and saying, let's stop the cost of living. So now the cost of living has been stable since the early 60s. Hasn't gone up a